we talked about, a reason for why data governance efforts and data quality has not necessarily progressed quite a lot is the disconnect between data consumers and data producers. That's a very fascinating insight that I'd love to focus on. But maybe first, walk us through what shifting left means and why it matters in the context of data quality.
So if you see, right, like I'll just draw a simple data life cycle picture for you. You start with systems are producing data. These are transactional systems. It can be HR, financial, logistics, supply chain. From here, data goes into the data is extracted and brought into a data lake or a data warehouse. And from there, people are using this data to build their own reports or their own outlooks. Now, most of the challenge around data quality gets highlighted when people start using the data. I'll give you an example that there's a data being collected, like World Bank or IMF, they collect data from countries. They are collecting GDP data, they're collecting population data. Population data is coming from one agency, GDP is coming from another. And an economist is calculating GDP per capita. So which is nothing but GDP divided by the population. Now, if you see, like the population data is intact, GDP data is intact, but the GDP per capita data, when they calculate, they realize, oh, something is wrong with that. Now, that check that happened on the consumer side, on the economist side, who's looking into writing a policy report, is way too late. It had the same thing happened in the beginning when the data is being brought into the system. I think it would have been a big advantage. So that's what I mean by shifting left. So move it from the consumer side, start moving some of these data quality related efforts to the producer side. Now, it sounds very simple to do it, but what it also means is, like on the data producer side, someone has to start understanding how this data is being used on the consumer side. So take, for example, like GDP data is such an important data to track whether how the countries are performing, right? Now, as a check, the data producer side, I can put a check saying if this number is missing, give me an alert. Fine. In place of 100 billion, someone typed in 10 billion. So it passes through the checkpoint, but the number is wrong. GDP cannot move from 100 billion to 10 and then move to 120 the next year, right? But this gets highlighted after all the transformations, 15 different places people are using it. It goes to, say, 10 different consumers. An economist, a publication, it goes to a newspaper. And that's when they find, oh, wow, this is wrong. Something is going wrong. So all these 10 consumers start reporting it to this agency, and then they go back. I think it loses a lot of time, a lot of credibility loss also, right? On the contrary, like if the quality check was that whenever GDP increases more than 5%, there is something wrong. And that check could have been done at the producer side, it wouldn't have happened. So I think, long story short, what is really needed is bringing awareness around what data quality is and what bad quality means in terms of time, effort, opportunity losses on the producer side will help coming up with these checks. And I think this requires also a collaboration between data producers and consumers to start talking about, like, how do you bring some of these common checks and standards into data quality